Alrighty, y'all. Hello there. Welcome to today's episode of In the Kitchen with Vincent. Yo, I'm so blessed to have you in my kitchen as always. And today we are not going to hold back on you. So today we're going to make Vincent's fried chicken. Yes, my buttermilk fried chicken. It's going to be so good. I'm just hungry thinking about it. And we're going to also make my Aunt Velma's broccoli casserole with some sweet potatoes on the side and some buttery biscuits. So y'all sit back, relax, and welcome to In the Kitchen with Vincent. Hey there, everybody. So we got our chicken and we're about to get ready to get cooking. So let me grab my apron. So I have just about 4 leg quarters that I just cleaned and cut up. So I'm gonna have 4 thighs and 4 legs. And what I do, I have them in a bowl, cleaned and set aside, and I patted them dry. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of buttermilk and hot sauce, and I also have my seasonings here. I'm just going to give my chicken a good marinade, and they're going to sit in that marinade for an hour. So I'm just going to take my pieces of chicken, I'm going to dump them into a larger bowl that I'm going to be using to mix it in. So, but yeah, y'all, I love me some good old fried chicken. It's not something you can have every Sunday, but the Sundays that you do have it is well worth it. So I'm just going to open up this buttermilk. And I'm just going to pour about a half a cup or a cup or so. You know, I eyeball it, so it ain't exact measurements, but you can just about, you want to make sure that the chicken is wet. And you want it to be a more heavy buttermilk consistency than hot sauce. And I'm also just going to toss in my hot sauce there. And that's really just to your preference, however hot your family likes it. And the thing I love about Louisiana hot sauce, it's not so much of a spice hot sauce, it's a flavor hot sauce. So you just put as much of that as you want. Then I'm going to hit it with my good old Tony's Creole seasoning. And you just season till your ancestors say stop, and that's about my good stop today. And then I'm going to take some onion powder, hit it with the onion powder. Awesome. Some garlic powder, never go wrong. Awesome. I'm going to hit it with some lemon pepper. If you're from Atlanta, you know you love lemon pepper season. Lemon pepper always finds itself on chicken if you're from Atlanta. So I throw in some lemon pepper for y'all Atlantans today. And I'm just going to hit it with some black pepper. Awesome. And now I'm just going to, you know, get my country boy hands in there and dig and get that chicken good and marinated. And I'm going to also be sure that I am taking my hands and making sure that I'm getting all under the skin. Because there ain't no point for you to get your hands dirty if you're not making sure that your chicken is actually well seasoned. So it's a mess right now. Live in it. Because it's going to be well worth it when they hit that hot grease. So just make sure your chicken is good and marinated. Good and covered up. Oh, I'm making a little bit of a mess. Don't be like me. Or if you do, make sure you got... Look at me, okay? It's okay. It's for my house. It's for my house. It's for my kitchen. You think they're going to throw that piece of chicken away because they dropped it? Man, they going to... No. All right. And we're going to clean that up. And that's good, all right? So I'm going to put a top over that. I'm going to clean my hands, and I'm going to let that marinate in the kitchen for an hour. But let me get started on my sides. Alrighty, so we have our sweet potatoes all nice and chopped up. I thinly sliced them, and what I do for my sweet potatoes, I do them in like a lasagna style, as I've probably showed y'all before. But I'm going to lay down some butter, and I got a half of a stick of butter just sliced up, and I just lay it across the bottom there. And then I take my sweet potatoes and just take a handful. Oh, I'm making a mess. Take a handful and just lay them out across your pan. Lay them out nice and even. And then I just take my sugar and I really just put the amount of sugar that feels good to me. I have 4 sweet potatoes laid down here, so I'm probably going to end up putting about a cup of white sugar and probably a half a cup to a cup of light brown sugar, but we kind of just have to eyeball it in the cast iron to see. Awesome. Hit it with some brown sugar. Awesome. And then you can just get your hands and just make sure you spread it out so that the brown sugar isn't just all clumped up in the middle. Awesome. And then I'm just going to take my potatoes, sweet potatoes, and just continue to do that same thing. Awesome. Then with my butter, take a little bit more of that butter and just leave some for the very top. Just a little more sugar. And you want to be able to see the sugar on top. Don't be scared to use the sugar, because if not, you're not going to get that candied yam sweet potato feel that you're looking for in the end. So don't be afraid to use too little sugar. If you don't want sweet potatoes, this ain't the recipe, so skip it. But for those of you who want real sweet potatoes made the country Delta way, you can't be afraid of your sugar. Alrighty. Now I'm just going to spread that out. And then the last of my sweet potatoes just to top it off. Awesome. With that butter. Awesome. Top it with just the last bit of that sugar. Awesome. And I'll take a little more brown sugar. Great. Now, y'all see I'm just eyeballing you. I'm doing what feels right. And that's how Grandma used to cook in the kitchen. So don't start asking me for cups and measurements. If you want to learn how to cook, you'll learn how to look and taste until you get it right. So, last thing I need to do, I need to go grab some vanilla extract. And I'm just going to put about a teaspoon of vanilla extract or so in here, so you don't go crazy with it. Remember, what's going to happen when this cast iron gets in the stove that I have set on 375 right now, the butter and sugars are going to start to melt down with that vanilla extract, and it's going to begin to boil and simmer up. And as it boils, that vanilla flavor gets through those sweet potatoes. So don't you worry about going in and having to mix those sweet potatoes. They're going to get that flavor all the way through, but I'm going to put some aluminum foil over there, get that vanilla extract, and I'm going to pop it in the oven for an hour. And then after an hour, I'm going to take the foil off and let it just get that good glaze on top for about 15 minutes or so. But let me get the foil set, and then we're going to get started on what we're going to do next, the broccoli casserole. So, and the oven's ready, so perfect timing. Alrighty, so now we're going to make our good old broccoli casserole in my rendition of my Aunt Velma's broccoli casserole, which is one of my favorite sides to eat during holidays. So the way I make mine, I start off, so I just took some minute rice, and I'm doing 1.5 cups because I'm doing a smaller portion today, but you can double it to get literally double what you're trying to get. So I'm feeding about 2 today, so this will honestly feed about 3 to 4, but you can just double it to feed a larger family. But anyway, so I have 1.5 cups of pre-cooked white rice, and I just did some minute rice just to be simple. We're going to put that into our bowl. And then, y'all, I got 1 crown of broccoli, and I used the entire thing, and I cut it up and steamed it, and I did not season it as I did that. I just truly allowed it to cook down to my level of tenderness. And you're just going to mix that all, add that into your mixing bowl. Make sure you don't leave any. Awesome. And then I just give that a mix. Make sure it's thoroughly mixed in. Your broccoli is good and mixed in with your rice. Awesome. And then I begin to season this. So I'm just going to hit it with a little bit of salt. Awesome. Some of my roasted garlic powder. Awesome. I'm going to hit it with some of that chicken bouillon. And then I'm also going to take some of that Lipton onion soup mix. That's my little secret that I add on. Lipton onion soup mix is always adding just a good little punch of flavor. And I love to taste it in my broccoli casserole. So I add about half of the bag there. And then we're going to give that a mix. Oh, and y'all, I forgot about my black pepper. I thought about it. So yeah, add some black pepper too. And that's just to your own preference. Then I mix that in. Awesome, awesome, awesome. My Aunt Velma, y'all, her broccoli casserole is literally untouched. Every time that she used to bring it to the family gatherings, she would bring it in and cook it the night before, and she would pop it in the oven. And I'll tell you, the cheese pool, the ooey gooey, I mean, it's just delicious. It goes good with barbecue. It goes good for Thanksgiving. It just is a great holiday eat. So, yeah, so I'm adding in now. I'm going to add in some sour cream, just so it gets that good, robust, creamy feel. That's about 2 tablespoons or so. Awesome. Mixing that in. Awesome. And then we're going to take our Velveeta cheese and take that Velveeta, and I have about a cup, and cut up into little block-sized pieces. We're going to give that a mix. Awesome. And then we're going to take just a little bit of milk to loosen it up. Awesome. And that was about a half a cup of milk or so. Awesome. Okay, now I have my cheeses. So y'all, you know how much I love Tillamook cheese. So I have my triple cheddar blend that I'm just going to add about half of that bag into the mix itself, and I want to save some to top with. And then I'm going to also add in some mozzarella cheese so it can have a nice cheesy pool. And I'm going to use about half of the bag for that as well. Then you're going to just give it a good mix. Awesome. And y'all, just making this just reminds me of my Aunt Velma, y'all. The thing I love about Aunt Velma is she was the control, you know what I mean? Like, everyone has that one aunt in the family who is just like, everyone gets their acts together when she comes into the room, and my Aunt Velma is that person, y'all. But when I tell you the love and care that she puts into family structure, family order, is something that it just resonates with you, and it's a lesson to take into your adulthood and into that eldership season of your life. There always needs to be some calm and collection in the storm, all right? And Aunt Velma, we thank you for being our calm and collection. So now that I got it all mixed in well, we can transfer it over to my dish. So I'm just going to put it in my temptation bowl, and I'm going to pour it all over in there, and then we're just going to top it with some cheese. Pretty simple. And you can make it a little more moist if you want it to, and I probably will add just a little bit more milk. I'm trying not to make too much of a mess here as I transfer it over. We're doing pretty good. But yeah, I am one of those people, so you will bake this for about 30 minutes in the oven, but if it's too thick right now, all it's going to do is become harder to move and thicker as it cooks. So you want it to be a little more loose, so I'm going to add just a little bit more milk and maybe a little bit more sour cream. But again, it's all to your preference. But remember, anytime you add liquid, you must add seasoning, okay? Awesome. That milk seemed to be just the right amount, so I may just put just a little bit of sour cream, just another tablespoon or so. Awesome. And like I said, a little chicken bouillon, a little of that roasted garlic, and that should really be enough. Awesome. And I make sure my edges of the bowl are really clean, so it's not going to really brown and burn on the edges as it cooks. Awesome. And now I'm just going to take some of that mozzarella and top it with that. A nice good coat so it gets a nice beautiful pull when you break into it. And then I'm going to take the last of my Tillamook cheese and top it off. Awesome. So I'm going to wrap this in aluminum foil and I'm going to pop it in the oven. The oven's currently set to 375, so I'm going to pop it in there for about 30 minutes or so, and then you can pull it right out. Now you can allow yourself to remove the aluminum foil and let it cook for another 5 minutes just to brown that cheese, but it's your choice. But I'm going to pop this in the oven, and then we're going to get those biscuits ready before we get our chicken frying. Alrighty, y'all, so now it's time to make some good old homemade biscuits. So I got about 3 cups of flour or so in a mixing bowl, and I have 1 stick of softened butter, and I'm just going to go ahead and toss that stick of butter in there. And it's softened, so I'm still going to have to work it a little bit. And then I have some shortening, and I have about 1/4 of a stick of shortening, but I'm going to put about 2 tablespoons in. I'm going to cut it about in half. And I'm going to put that shortening in it. And the shortening is really there for that moisture. It gives your biscuits a good, if you want that, you know, that KFC-ish consistency, that thick, nice, gooey, not really gooey, but you know that feeling, that biscuit, that's what you need the shortening to do that. So I'm just going to take my fork and work that fork down and break down into that butter. And you can use your hands too, but my fork helps me really break that butter down. And then you just work that butter into the flour. You can use your hands and the fork to really break that butter down. And then once you get it evenly distributed, you can begin to add in your salt, but let me work that butter in for you real quick. Once you get it broken down, it's easier to start working with your hands, but at first you really want to use that fork to get it good and mixed in. Awesome. Alright, I'm at the point I can start using my hands. Awesome. And you really just want to take that loose flour and work that shortening and that butter into that loose flour. It's not going to really take form yet, but you're going to start to see that flour turn from like a true powdery substance to it's going to start having some type of a body, but it won't be solid by any means. Alrighty, I'm just going to continue to mix that in. And then when you're just about ready for a little salt, you should be working like that. So you should have pieces that want to like form up into body pieces, but it breaks apart just that easy. Awesome. So I'm just going to take a little bit of salt. Awesome. Mix that salt in. And then I'm going to take my buttermilk, y'all. And then you just want to add little by little of buttermilk, just so it gets its body. So I'm going to add about 1/4 of a cup of buttermilk, and then I'm going to work that in. I'm going to use the fork to do that, one, so I don't start to get all of the biscuit dough stuck on my fingers. And then once I actually am able to get the biscuits to start taking on some body, then I can get my hands in the game. But until then, I'm just going to use the fork to help get it some body. Awesome. It's already starting to take on a body really quickly. So I can take just a little bit more buttermilk, a little bit more. Awesome. There we are. Just mix that in. I'm going to start using my hands. So it's not a cute process, y'all, but to make those homemade biscuits, you got to get your hands a little messy. Awesome. Awesome. And once your dough is all starting to solidify, if I can get it off my fingers, once your dough starts to solidify, you want to start working it towards a ball shape. Alrighty, y'all, so we just had a little technical difficulties there, but yeah, so now my biscuits are in a ball. I just had to add a little more flour and clean off my hands and make sure that it formed over into a ball. But then I covered it in saran wrap, just let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes or so, just so that it lets all that butter and everything congeal and get that body. And now I'm just going to uncover my dough, and then I have a good little cutting board here, a board, and I'm just going to lightly flour that board just to make sure that my biscuits don't stick and my biscuit dough doesn't stick. Make sure you flour it well. I'd rather over flour and make sure that my biscuits don't stick than to lose precious dough, okay? So over flour it, and I'm just going to take that ball, just roll it out there, and then for me, I normally get a little bit of flour and I rub it across my hands well, like coat it in, and then I roll it across the rolling pin that way, just to ensure that there is flour all over the pan itself, so it's not sticking to your dough. And then I'm just going to begin to work my dough down, flattening it out, flattening it out. I'm sorry, I can't speak. But flattening it out. And what I don't like to do, I don't like to knead and roll over. You've already worked that dough enough. You're really just wanting to roll it out so you can get its shape. And I try to roll mine out to about 1/2 inch to 1/4 of an inch, but you really just want to eyeball it out yourself, and it's really about what you like. If you like your biscuits to be those big high-rising biscuits, maybe you want to have it closer to 1 inch to 3/4 of an inch. But for me, I like my biscuits to be just bite-sizable, so I'm going to have them about a half of an inch to 1/4 of an inch thick. And I want to make about a half a dozen or so, 6 to 8 of them I'm trying to work out. And you just want to make sure you're watching, trying to make sure they're even all across as good as you can. And then for me, I just have a bunch of mason jars sitting around. So I have a top of an 8-ounce mason jar, and I'm just going to use these to cut my biscuits out. But I'm just going to roll it just a little bit more. Just a little bit more there. Awesome. Okay. So, same thing. You always want to make sure you're flouring your instruments when you're working with dough, just so that they don't stick unnecessarily. So, I work from the edges and I work my way around just so that I'm getting the most use of my dough. And I really work that edge, push it down, and I pull it out away from the dough, and then just let it sit on the shelf, and you got a perfect biscuit, and they'll all be the same size. So you just do that, you continue to work around your dough till you have them all cut out. And yes, y'all, it is worth doing them at home. I know Pillsbury, it's easy and convenient, but they don't taste the same, y'all. You just do homemade is always better. But I know all of us ain't got time for that. You saying, Vincent, I like watching you do it, but I ain't got time for it, and I feel that. But you can doctor your biscuits at home, get that Pillsbury, put a little extra butter. You can knead it out and work some extra flavor in there if you wanted to. But just a note, it's not a mandatory thing. But yeah, so I'm just going to cut these biscuits out. We'll see how many I'm able to get with this. Awesome. We already have 5. I think I may be able to get 8, y'all, or at least 7. Let's see. That's 6. Alrighty, I can get 7 pretty biscuits. I can get 8 because I have enough dough to work them together. As a matter of fact, I'll just show you that. So for when you have that leftover dough and you want to make it into a biscuit, you don't need to really just knead it together. I just push those edges together because once you crush and cut out the biscuits, you have that soft edge showing and the flour is encasing it. So you can really just push it together, and once it bakes, you won't even be able to really tell that that biscuit wasn't like one of those beautiful formed ones like the other ones. And forming my leftover dough, it looks a little something like that. And then I'm just going to take my pie thing and I'm going to roll it out a little bit just to connect it. Roll it a little. Then we're going to cut it out. Awesome. And biscuit number 8. So we were able to get 8 biscuits done with this. There we go. And then I have my pan already ready. So this is a deep pan and it has the seam so butter could leak out. And I'm going to put 1/4 of a cup of melted butter into the pan. So I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to leak out. So I'm just going to lay my 8 biscuits down into the pan. And you just want to make sure you give them room. They're going to spread a little bit, just a little bit. But you get different results depending on how closely or how far you space your biscuits. If you're one of those people who like your biscuits to have those soft edges, then you want to make sure your biscuits are cooking closer together so that they don't form the crunchy or external crust. So, but if you are that person who's like, I like the crunch of my biscuit, separate them, cook them further. I'll cook them on a baking sheet, and then you won't have to worry about them having those soft, mushy feel. But I like mine kind of soft, so I'm going to cook them closer together. And then I'm just going to take my butter and I'm going to roll my butter in between my biscuits because I want those biscuits to be soaking up the butter as they bake. So I'm just going to make sure I'm evenly spreading that butter across. Awesome. And then the last stuff I just let hit the top there. Awesome. Alrighty. And now my biscuits look a little something like that. And I'm going to put them in the oven for about 10 to 15 minutes, but keep an eye out on them. The oven's on 350 right now. You can crank it up to 400 if you wanted to, but because of my other side still cooking, I'm going to just let it cook on 350, and I'm going to watch it, so it should take around between 15 to 20 minutes. But like I said, with your bread, always keep an eye on it yourself. I don't know how your oven bakes, so make sure you just start keeping an eye on it about 10 minutes, and I'm about to fry some chicken, so get ready. Alrighty, so we got our fried chicken, our broccoli casserole, our sweet potatoes, and our biscuits. Y'all, this food is smelling so good, and I don't want to hold my team up, so we're just going to get into it. So I think I'm going to start with my broccoli casserole just because it's Aunt Velma's, well, my rendition of Aunt Velma's broccoli casserole. So let's just give that a taste. Let's see. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. It smells so much like her. It's so creamy, flavorful, cheesy, and it's like, it's not overwhelmingly cheesy. Like, you taste the broccoli and those seasonings. That is good. That is so good. I could just eat a whole bowl of that. Okay, let me try my sweet potatoes. Let me try the sweet potatoes. Okay. Oh my goodness. What a beautiful, the caramelization and the glaze of the butter and the sugar is amazing. Okay, let me try to bite into this chicken. You hear that? Crispy, crispy. All right, let me see. This chicken's so good. Oh my goodness, hold on. Let me bite into this biscuit too. Yeah, this honey butter biscuit and this fried chicken is so good. We've been waiting to eat it. It is well worth it. It is so darn good. Thank you, Jesus. All right. So take the time. Spend some time with your family. Teach your kids how to make this. This fried chicken is a family household, family recipe. So y'all spend some time with your family this week and make this recipe. And I just thank you all for another week of In the Kitchen with Vincent. I'm so blessed to have you with me, and I hope you tune around for next week. I'm finna finish eating this chicken because it smells so good and it tastes better. So I'll see y'all next week.